I was out there for a week, and then they had
Yeah,
a big
I saw that email.
base program building that you could visit. That was it was really impressive. It's so different.
Got 7. I'll call this meeting to order. It's 7 o'clock. Roll call by the clerk.
Gomer, I said, bullshit. You got jurisdiction anywhere you want on the county board. Get that card.
We have 25 present and 5 absent.
Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Broderick, could you please lead us today?
Oh, okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take a moment to think about your evening. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Thank you. Thank you for coming, getting your picture taken tonight. All right. We're in compliance with open meetings law.
We are, Mr. Chair.
I will entertain a motion for approval of the agenda. So moved by Mr. Jaco, seconded by Mr. Backlund. Any additions, subtractions, anything need to be moved? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Approval of May 14th meeting minutes. Mr. Winnicky.
I would move approval of the May 14th, 2024 meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Second by Meg. Okay. Anybody see any additions or subtractions? Any mistakes? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. Minutes are approved. Special order of business. Proclamation. Mr. Lund.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Proclamation number 2024-4. Whereas the Lakeside Lutheran High School boys track team won the Wisconsin Interscholastic Athletic Association Division II State Track Championship held from May 31st to June 1st, 2024. And whereas the Lakeside Lutheran High School boys track team won the WIAA Division II State Track Championship with a score of 81 points, which is a Division II record. And whereas the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors supports achievement in athletics and extracurricular activities, as well as academic achievement among the county's youth. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors, assembled this 11th day of June 2024, extends its hearty congratulations to the Lakeside Lutheran High School boys track team, coaches, parents, staff, students, and fans for the WIA State Track Championship and wishes them success and good health in their future athletic and academic pursuits. Mr. Chair, I move approval of this proclamation.
Moved by Mr. Lund. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Backlund. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the proclamation passes. Resolution recognizing the life-saving efforts of Deputy Ashley Novoski, Deputy Jared Media, Deputy Pete Batansky, Sergeant Eli Wiedenfeld, LPN Melissa Moss, and LPN Larissa Satchel. Mr. Drana.
Resolution
14.
Resolution 2024-14, whereas on September 29th, 2023, a 41-year-old inmate of the Jefferson County Jail was experiencing a medical emergency within H unit. And whereas Deputy Netabotsky advised of a medical emergency in H pod at 12:06 p.m. regarding an inmate who was sitting on the day room floor with his head slumped over. The inmate fell backward and hit his head on the concrete floor. Deputy Netanovsky, sorry about that, thank you, secured H pod by locking down other inmates who were in the unit. And whereas Deputy Mejia secured the inmate's head and noticed that the inmate had blood coming from a laceration on the top of the head. The lips were turning blue, there was no chest rise or fall, and the eyes were partially rolled back. And whereas Sergeant Wiedenfeld utilized an AED and advised no shock. He and LPN Stachel initiated CPR and administered breaths utilizing bag valve mask. Deputy Patansky began providing chest compressions. The inmate then began to move and breathe on his own. LPN Moss administered a dose of Narcan with no significant improvement in the inmate's condition. Deputy Patansky administered a second dose of Narcan, and the inmate began breathing more readily on his own, and his condition was improved. And whereas Jefferson County EMS took over patient care, and the inmate was transported to Fort Atkinson Memorial Health Hospital, treated, and later released. And whereas Jefferson County Sheriff Paul S. Milbrath hereby asks that the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors formally recognize the above individuals by adopting this recognition and awarding the above individuals with the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office Life-Saving Award. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Jefferson County Board of Supervisors formally recognizes the actions of Deputy Netanovsky, Mejia, Patansky, Sergeant Wiedenfeld, and LPN Moss and Stachel, who were directly involved in life-saving efforts to resuscitate an inmate of the Jefferson County Jail. Their efforts resulted in saving the life of this person and demonstrated professionalism, exemplary service, and dedication to duty, which reflect great credit upon themselves, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, and Jefferson County. Be it further resolved that the above individuals be awarded the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office Life-Saving Award. Mr. Chair, I move for adoption of this resolution.
Moved by Mr. Traina. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Jekyll. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Our sheriff and chief deputy will add to this.
Great. So on behalf of the Sheriff's Office and Sheriff Milbrath, it's my distinct privilege to be able to be part of presenting the Life Saving Award to staff that definitely answered the call and helped save a life. So the Life Saving Award is awarded to any Sheriff's Office member, whether on duty or off, who is responsible for saving a human life through the rendering of medical aid or other actions that directly contribute to the saving of a human life. This award is recognized through a crystal award that commemorates the date and a commendation bar that is the red and white of the life-saving. It's a symbol that's easily recognized as a life-saving symbol. Also, I want to be sure that I thank the Law Enforcement Committee for hearing this and feeling that it needed to go to the county board, and also all the county board supervisors for recognizing this and helping us celebrate. It's certainly clear that cohesive teamwork that happened that day and attention to detail and quick actions helped save and mitigate a situation which led to the successful resuscitation and preservation of this inmate's life. All right, so we have Deputy Netanovsky. Deputy Mejia. Deputy Peter Batansky. And Sergeant Eli Wiedenfeld. LPN Melissa Moss. And LPN Larissa Stachel. And just to briefly reiterate on part of what was the proclamation, obviously the actions that they took on that day led to the direct saving of life and reflects great credit upon the Sheriff's Office and Jefferson County as a whole.
Sheriff, why don't you join? I'm helping out.
Scrunch together.
Yeah, get away with it.
Believe it or not, I got one.
Out, 5, 4, 3. Sorry.
Come on, Pete, smile.
I don't think it did. No, it didn't. He said it was recording a video. It was not. If you want to do a video, it won't do one. So let me get one.
Yeah, we don't want to hear about that.
Take the blame.
All right.
Plop them in, I hit them out of the park. That's just the way it works.
And on behalf of the Jefferson County Board, thank you ever so much. And then item C, presentation of the 2023 results of Clifton Larson Allen. And that is online.
Okay, it was over.
You're on.
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate you giving me a few minutes of time here. I promise to be brief here and just share the audit results. And I'm going to try to share my screen here briefly, if you can bear with me. Got just a very short PowerPoint presentation that I'd like to go through with you just to share the results of the audit results. Are you able to see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Excellent. All right, so I'll just walk us through very briefly, by way of introduction here. My name is Jake Linnell. I'm representing CLA, that's your external audit team. So our role as it relates to the county is really performing an audit of the financial statements that are prepared by your team, as well as an audit of federal and state grant programs in accordance with the various regulations that the federal and state grant authorities have related to those dollars. So we perform audits for similar organizations all across Wisconsin. We work with over half of the counties here in Wisconsin in a very similar role. And we work with over 500 municipalities as a whole across the state. So we also have a national practice, but really the point of sharing this background information with you as it relates to your audit team is just to share with you that this perspective that we have is really based in the Wisconsin local government environment. And we try to bring that to our audit approach and share those best practices that we have both in performing our work as well as if we see opportunities to improve efficiencies with your staff as well. So I do want to share with you the results of the audit work. So the work that we performed is related to the 12/31/2023 calendar year. We've completed our audit of that work. that involves really testing all of the financial information that your team brings together in terms of the financial statements and related disclosures, and performing sampling and testing around those balances to see that they're appropriately supported by the underlying supporting documentation, that they're consistent with what we'd expect to see based on that information provided, and based on what we see within the industry as a whole. So the result of that work is we issue an opinion on those financial statements. That opinion is unmodified opinion, or what's commonly referred to as a clean opinion. That's the highest level of assurance we can provide you as your auditors, that those financial statements are free of any material misstatement, that they appropriately reflect the activities of the county as a whole. Also included as part of our work, we issue a letter that covers some of the required communications around the audit process. One of those matters focuses on accounting policies, in particular as it relates to new requirements proposed by the financial statement community. So GASB 96 is a new standard requiring the evaluation of information technology contracts and evaluating the long-term nature of those contracts and determining if there's any additional disclosures required as a result of those new standards. So we were able to review the work that your management team performed in terms of being able to implement that new policy and procedure, and had no objections to the way in which that had been implemented. Also included in our letters is a description of the accounting estimates involved in preparing those financial statements. So as this information is being brought to a close as of December 31st, it involves providing some estimates included in the financial statements. And our work is really surrounding evaluating those estimates and determining that they're appropriate and consistent with what the county's experience has been, as well as consistent with what the industry standards would be portraying as well. So again, no changes to the way in which those methodologies and those estimates have been brought into the financial statements. We had no difficulties in counterperforming the audit. The one area in which we, I'm sorry, was there a question?
I don't see.
Okay, sorry. Sorry, I thought I had heard someone pipe in for a question, but the uncorrected misstatements, what this relates to is as we evaluate some of the balances that are reported within the financial statements, if there's anything that is a small difference in terms of what the standards would report versus what's included within your fund financial statements, we identify those amounts to you. And really what these two matters relate to are the two new standards, one which I just talked about as it relates to information technology contracts. Similarly, last year there was a new standard related to long-term leases. And if any of those balances had been material or significant enough to bring into the financial statements, then you'd be required to do that. But because they are insignificant, you're able to leave them as they've always been reported, which is really on really the cash basis of how those activities are reported. It's how you budget for it, and it's how you track it. So it makes sense. It's something where you've got flexibility around it and makes it a little bit more efficient to bring your financial statements to close. So your management team has gone through the work to evaluate what the impact of those would be, and we were able to perform work around that to say, we agree that those amounts are insignificant and do not require any further work or any further effort on the county side. So we do include those amounts just so that you're aware that those were missed. Those are conscious decisions within the financial statement process. What's not included on the slide, and which is actually significant, is that we didn't have any corrected misstatements. So if we had corrected misstatements, we'd also identify those to you as well. And what that would mean is that as we're performing our work, we're finding things that need to get changed, that need to get altered to be in compliance with the reporting standards. But that's not the case when we perform our work with the county. The financial information that we're receiving is consistent with what needs to be done for external reporting. And that's important for you to know in your roles, in that the financial information that you're receiving throughout the year, we're not coming in at the end and making a bunch of changes to that information to get it in accordance with the standards. It's already in the proper reporting format, structure, and methodologies. So that's important to know. It's kind of a thing with auditors where no news is good news, and that's why we don't have any information for you on any corrections that we had to make. No disagreements with management. Also included within the letters is management's representation letter, which is really management accepting responsibility for the financial statements and indicating to us that they've provided us with everything that they know to be true for the financials, as well as all of the supporting documentation in terms of being complete and accurate as well. And no consultations with other accountants as we performed our work. Also, as part of our work with the county, we perform review of major federal and major state programs as required by the federal and state agencies. And as we perform that work, we're required to test for certain. Sorry, was there a question there?
You're good, Jake.
Okay, I might be getting a little bit of feedback on my earpiece. Sorry about that. As we perform our work on the federal and state programs, we will continue to work through that process. That timing of that work isn't due until the end of September. We're working through that actively now with your team, and are making great progress. We'll be well ahead of that kind of timeline of that September 30th deadline. So just in good state there. But the one thing I'll note is that there are new programs this year as it relates to the requirements, and that's really just dictated by the level of the funding that the county was able to get. Once you get over a certain level of funding, and if it hasn't been tested in a while, the Fed or the state agency will require that testing. So it's not a bad thing that these programs are subject to testing. It's really just a function of the cycle in which they arrive. But you do have new programs this year that we'll be working with your team to complete that work. And then, as always, we will continue to work through any upcoming areas. GASB 101 focuses on compensated absences. So similar to what we've done with the past few new requirements, we'll work with your management team to see that those standards have been evaluated, that if any new changes are required, that they've been implemented. And we'll continue to focus on those additional grant dollars as they come through and rotate our testing as required by those federal and state agencies. So really, in summary, I'll share that we shared the same feedback with the Finance Committee early last week as well. We do intend this to be an area where you have that open outreach and open communication with us. If there's other areas in which, from a planning perspective or from a future audit plan perspective, there were anything that the governing bodies would want to talk about, we could talk through that here or set up another time. We want to be available to you as you have questions and be a resource to you as well. So with that, I'll ask if there's any questions on the information I presented.
Any questions? Any questions from board members? I see none. Thank you very much, Jake.
Thank you. I appreciate you allowing me to join remotely here. It is a big help with the schedule this week, and enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you very much. It moves us on to communications. Treasurer's monthly report. That should be in here. Go ahead.
Then you will find a certificate of excellent letter that the Child Support Agency received. We also have some retirement recognitions, as well as the Zoning Committee's notice of public hearing, which will be June 20th, 2024 at 7 p.m.
Terry,
She's here.
Terry, for the retirement recognition.
Good evening, everyone. We had 4 retirements in the last quarter, a total of 100 years of service between the 4 of them. Unfortunately, I don't think any of them are here tonight. I know 3 of them are currently out of state, whether they moved or vacationing. So the first one is Mary Bender. She was a registered nurse with our public health department for just a little bit over 9 years. And then we jump into some of the bigger numbers. Mike Hennis worked in our IT department. He started about the same time I did, so it was a little bit over 24 years. And he was actually part of, I think, the ICC group that was, for those of you who have been around that long, there used to be our IT department combined of several different counties. Deputy Michael Charity of the Sheriff's Office. He was there almost 32 years. And then our long-termer, Lori Anderson, retired from the DA's office after a little over 35 years. So a lot of years of service again, and it's something that you're going to continue to see. So I'll probably see you again in another few months.
Thank you, Terry, and thank you to all those retirees, and good luck in their retirement. All right. Public comment. Is there any public comment pertaining to things on the agenda tonight? Seeing none, we will move on to annual reports. Human Services, Brent Relo.
All right, good evening. My name is Brent Relo, and I'm the Director of Human Services, and it's really my pleasure to present our 2023 annual report. Before I dive into it, I just want to send a big thank you to our County Board of Supervisors, our County Board Chair, Ben Waymeyer, our Administrator, as well as our Human Services Board Chair and our Human Services Board. Without everybody's cooperation, we wouldn't be able to remain nimble and fluid and really do the things that are expected of us at Human Services and for our committee. So thank you very much. I wanted just to point out our mission statement and indicate that that really is our North Star, and enhancing the quality of life for our individuals and families in Jefferson County is really what we are here to do, and we take it very serious. That's what we use to make our decisions. That's what we use in terms of applying for grants and really gathering around what is our mission and what is the best thing we are to do. Everybody should have a copy of our annual report. If you are looking for some light reading or can't sleep at night, it is 166 pages, and it is filled with all the typical qualitative and quantitative data. We're very proud of that. We have our key outcome indicators, which really drive the work that we do, and we use that for our measurements. This year, I decided to go in a different direction. We won't present some of that data. Rather, what I want to do is spend some time really talking about our rebranding, if you will. And what I mean by that is, hopefully you've noticed additional articles in the newspaper about our activities at Human Services, additional posts via Facebook and Instagram. We're in a number of newsletters across various hospitals and clinics in the area. And the idea really is to share with the community what we do at Human Services in a proactive manner and decrease that stigma around, potentially, for some folks anyway, coming to Human Services. So that really has been an explicit focus of ours the last year and a half or so. So I'd like to spend a little bit of time sharing some of those details tonight. By way of background, at Human Services, we have 5 divisions. We have about 247 employees, and that includes our pool and part-timers. And we have a little over $36 million in revenue. One of the first things our management group got together to talk about to kick off 2023 was how do we spread the word on what we're doing locally and statewide. And what you see there is just a couple examples of some statewide conferences. On the left, you see Holly Pagel. She's our Behavioral Health Division Manager. She's presenting there at the Wisconsin County Human Services Association on best practice, and we've been invited back next year as well. In the middle, you see our youth justice team, as well as a national presenter, Cedric Howard, who came to be a part of our first ever Youth Justice Summit. And on the far right there of the middle photo, you see Assistant District Attorney Brooke Teuber, who's been a strong advocate of youth justice for years. And what we really did is gather up our local stakeholders and really talk about what is youth justice and what isn't youth justice, and really compare and contrast about what you might see about youth justice on TV nationally and what are we doing here locally. And we were able to really spread the word with local school districts and law enforcement, stakeholders, clinics and hospitals, and really have a good conversation. A number of our staff presented a variety of our initiatives, and DCF was able to attend as well. And then the last one, it's just a third example of a conference, is myself and Judge Brantmeyer presenting at the Child Welfare Conference in the Dells. It's a statewide conference presented every year. We are able to not only moderate that two-day conference, but spend some time talking about our judicial engagement teams and some mechanisms that we have used in our juvenile court for others then to potentially take a look at. Keeping with the theme of wanting to spread the word about what we do at Human Services, a couple bullet points I wanted to share, and that's that we were able to open up a branch location of Human Services as part of our outpatient clinic in Watertown at the Collective. And we've since been able to add a second office. And we really feel like if we can embed ourselves in the community, become a part of the community, decrease transportation, we're able to offer more and more services to folks at kind of an easier open door policy. Our community support program, who serves severe and persistent mental illness patients, we hired a full-time nurse last year. And really what that allows us to do is provide medication management, some injectable medications, as well as folks may know, but our severe and persistent mental illness population often has physical health issues that accompany those mental health diagnoses. So we're able to do some education around diabetes, heart conditions, things of that nature. So that's been great. And then our county was one of the first in the state of Wisconsin to develop a compliance department. And this last year, we were able to really operationalize that compliance department by forming a compliance committee, working with other departments, and rolling out policy agency-wide, which has been great. And the last thing I'll mention on this slide, again, to that outreach mechanism is our ADRC was able to attend 27 community events last year to really invite folks to come forth and use the services we have here, such as attending the farmers market, Children's Share and Care Fair in Fort Atkinson and Watertown. We also targeted a number of Spanish-speaking events, which has been very helpful, as we do have 2 Spanish-speaking members of that department. It's been very, very helpful. The next slide people will recognize. We really appreciated everybody's support here with the opening of our Mott Center. We were able to collaborate with the Department of Health Services and the Greater Watertown Community Health Foundation to open up the Mott Center. We used 100% DHS funding to do so, and we were able to celebrate that in January with the photo on the right there. We were able to have Senator John Jagler there. We had Representative Barbara Diedrich, Tina Crave. You see Ben, as well as a number of folks from Human Services board there. And we also had the Deputy Secretary of DHS, Deb Standridge, to do the ribbon cutting. So that was a great day. We got a lot of really good coverage, and we continue to get coverage on a week-by-week basis. A big thanks to Michael for all his help in helping us coordinate that as well. Another couple high points here is we implemented an appointment software program to remind folks about their upcoming appointments. So if anybody's had a doctor's appointment lately or even an oil change, you're getting text about that upcoming appointment. We did a quality improvement walkthrough of our no-shows. And at first what we had is staff calling folks to remind them of appointments, and that clearly is very time-consuming. So now we use a texting software, just like your local clinic does, to remind people of their appointments. And we've been able to really decrease no-shows, which increases services, frankly, and also our revenue and ability to bill. Our economic support area answered over 11,000 calls in 2023, really linking people up with food share, medical assistance, and Badger Care. And then again, to highlight our Aging and Disability Resource Center, otherwise known as our ADRC, they had over 8,000 contacts in 2023 to enroll individuals into family care, provide general counseling, and get folks linked up with public benefits. Recently, we were able to attend the Secretary's Putting Families First Award ceremony in Madison at the Capitol. Each year, there is an award ceremony dedicated to child welfare staff and individuals around the state of Wisconsin. This last year was the first year ever they had a Community Partner Award. So at Human Services, we put together a nomination for Tina Crave, President and CEO of the Greater Watertown Community Health Foundation, for all of her work to support child welfare, for example, the Mott Center that we just talked about. And so we were able to submit her nomination, and she was the first ever recipient of that Community Partner Award. So you see our Human Services Board, Dick Jones, as well as on the left there, it's Secretary Emily Odmanson and the governor presenting that award to the foundation. That is not Tina Crave in the middle, however. She was out of the country, and we arranged for her to receive that at a recent Human Services Board meeting. One of our other initiatives last year was Human Services Day at the Capitol. So we believe in advocating for what is right in human services, but also that means every biennium, we really work closely with legislators to advocate for how to increase and get our items on the agenda so they're considered by the governor for his budget in this case. And we were able to spend time with all of our local legislators and representatives. And here's a picture with Representative Barbara Diedrich, Gina Racanelli from our board, as well as Holly Pagel, who accompanied us from our Behavioral Health Division, because many of our initiatives in our asks of the budget came from our Behavioral Health Division. And so we're actually already working on the next biennium and what we'll be asking for in the next budget. And then last here is our playground. If anybody had been to Human Services in the last number of years, you've noticed the playground out back. It began to look a bit shabby, a bit unsafe. And what we're able to do is for the use by Head Start, Birth to Three, our Busy Bee preschool, is secure some child care funds and work with Head Start to put together that playground right there, which is great. And a big thank you to our highway department. They did all the groundwork for us. Kevin at Parks gave us a number of vendors and made a number of suggestions about what's worked at the parks locally here in Jefferson County. So again, we couldn't do all this without everybody's support. I thank you all for your support year round, and really, I want to thank all of our staff back at Human Services, because without our staff, supervisors, and managers, I simply wouldn't stand here and talk about these things that we're able to do on a year-by-year basis. So thank you, and I'm open for any questions.
Questions for Brent? Mr. Brogler?
Thank you for all your work. Could you give us a little more update on the Mott Center?
I
How
sure
it's
can.
going?
I sure can. Thank you for asking. So far, the Mott Center has been operational. We started by opening just the girls' side. Our Mott Center, as a reminder, serves ages 10 to 17 for youth experiencing a mental health crisis to decrease their potential stay at a long-term hospital. And so we have opened up the girls' side. Depending on census, we have accepted a couple of males, but right now our census is right where we would expect it to be. We are fully staffed for the girls' side, and we hope by the first week in July to open up the male side as well. We just actually had a regional meeting there where we invited in all the regional counties to come, do a walkthrough, get a presentation, and we're now up to about 15 contracts with local counties statewide. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that.
Other questions? Other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Brent.
Thank you.
Next is Corporation Counsel Danielle Thompson.
Good evening, Danielle Thompson, Corporation Counsel. The written report that I previously submitted outlines all of the major responsibilities of our office along with our caseload, but I appreciate the opportunity to supplement that report today and answer any questions you may have. Depending upon how long you've been on this board or what committees you serve on, you may be more familiar than others with the services that Corporation Counsel's office provides. But generally, we serve as the chief legal advisor to you, that being the county board, all committees, department heads, and county staff on civil matters. So that's our statutory mandate. Essentially, our job is to provide legal advice to assist the county in making policy decisions and then legal support to help you implement and facilitate those decisions. As you can imagine, this involves a diverse array of legal issues. Every day in our office is different, which is both why I took this job and why it can be challenging at times. But our office is involved in virtually all facets of county government, and we interact to some degree with all departments, whether that involves open meetings, open records, contracting and purchasing, all resolutions and ordinances that come before you come through our office. A number of tasks. Most of you probably recognize me as I have the pleasure of attending all of these meetings with you monthly. But there are 5 attorneys that work in my office and 1 paralegal. In 2023, that was a year of transition in our office. I replaced Attorney Ward in October due to his retirement. A great deal of credit goes to my staff and to Blair for helping to make that transition relatively seamless. In our office, we take a collaborative approach. Anybody who walks through there would often see Jordan and Yelena and I huddled around our file cabinet talking about difficult cases. But there are, each attorney generally has a specialty and primary obligations. And for me, that's general government services, labor and employment matters, contracting, real estate, et cetera. In our office, we have attorney Yelena Zarwell, whose primary responsibility is mental health commitments, guardianships, and protective placements. She also handles open records responses, and she is our resident HIPAA compliance expert. We also have Jordan Lippard. He handles litigation on behalf of children, that being CHIPS cases, which is the acronym for Children in Need of Protection and Services, and then other general litigation matters as they come up. There are two attorneys, Tom Antheline and Kendall Wick, who work basically exclusively in child support, so they are in court daily, establishing paternity, establishing child support orders, handling enforcement and collection when necessary. And then, as I mentioned, we have one paralegal, Serena. You all recognize her as she's also the county board reporter. Daily, she is the assistant to Jordan, Yelena, and I, so she keeps 3 attorneys on track, which is not an easy task, but she does it well. Newer members of the board are likely familiar with the advisory or transactional side of our office, but you may be surprised to learn that a large portion of what happens in our office is litigation. The attorneys in my office are in court on a daily basis, sometimes multiple times per day. And those are cases where we are statutorily charged to represent the public interest in civil matters. So it's very similar or akin to the DA being required to represent the public interest in criminal cases. As I mentioned, Yelena is in charge of mental health commitments, guardianships, and protective placements. So those cases can involve both adults and minors. It's her job to represent the public interest. When we are doing an involuntary mental health commitment, we do those when it's believed that an individual is dangerous to themselves or others. Generally, this is an individual experiencing a mental health crisis. Chapter 51 of the Wisconsin statutes allows the county to detain an individual against their will for mental health treatment. So that is one of her tasks. Similarly, she gets involved in guardianship and protective placement cases, which involve protecting developmentally disabled and incompetent individuals who are unable to make decisions for themselves or care for themselves independently. So those cases involve having a guardian appointed and sometimes having that individual placed in a facility for care. These cases often involve elderly citizens. Jordan Lippard, on the other hand, his cases involve exclusively children. Children in need of protection and services cases involve children who are the victims of abuse and or neglect, and those cases involve putting court orders in place to protect children either in the home or removing the children from their homes when it's necessary. And then we work through the court process to try to return children home when it's safe to do so. He's also involved in termination of parental rights cases, or TPRs. Those come into play when children have been placed outside of the home for an extended period of time, often several years, and parents have not met the court-ordered conditions to have those children returned. A TPR would permanently sever legal ties between a parent and a child, so very serious civil actions. The cases that Jordan and Yelena are primarily responsible for involve close consultation with Human Services. So on a daily basis, we are working with several departments over there, including Emergency Mental Health Services, APS, and their CPS teams. They are also very time sensitive, both legally and from a safety standpoint. They often require hearings within 48 to 72 hours, depending upon the case type. And they require some extensive preparation. As I mentioned, these types of cases are generally regarded as the most serious types of civil cases that a party can be involved in. And so they have a very high legal burden, and significant due process rights are afforded to the litigants. Obviously, that's due to the sanctity of the rights that are implicated. Obviously, your right to be free, your right to parent your children. Those are important things, and so we have to do extensive preparation in order to prove up the case or to meet our legal burden. while still ensuring that the due process rights of the litigants are protected so that the court order stands. As you'll see from the written report, the numbers of cases filed in these types of areas is relatively stable from year to year. However, the complexity of the cases continues to increase. That is because these cases are getting a lot of attention in the Court of Appeals, which generally results in heightening legal standards. So they continue to keep our office very busy. In addition to the regular daily obligations, I'm working on several more long-term projects, some of those inherited from my predecessor, one being the codification of county ordinances. So we've talked about this before, but currently the county has a collection of ordinances on its website, but no uniform system of numbering. They are not easily searchable. Some have not been updated. So we are working on the process of updating those ordinances, compiling them, and putting them into a system where they can be easily searched. We are working with a company to do that. The second draft, I expect, will be here in the summer with the hope that it will be completed and operational by the end of the year. The other long-term project that I inherited from Blair is a zoning appeal. You all are probably recall the property in the town of Concord where the county approved a rezone. Some citizens were upset about that. They took it to circuit court. Blair handled the case at the circuit court level, and then a decision was made to appeal that case. We are in that process. I have drafted all of the briefs on behalf of the county. Briefing is closed, and we're just currently awaiting a decision from the Court of Appeals to determine next steps. Hope is that that decision will also arrive sometime this summer. I'm also in the process of redrafting the tax foreclosure policy. As most of you know, my office is in charge of foreclosing on property tax liens when individuals don't pay their taxes. Because of change in the law, we've had to update our policy as to how the sale of those properties are handled. I think that highlights the main functions of my office, but I welcome any questions you may have. Of course, my door is always open for questions as well.
Questions for Danielle? Questions? Seeing none, thank you, Danielle. Next is UW Extension, Chrissy Wen.
Good evening. My name is Chrissy Wen, and I'm an Area Extension Director for the UW-Madison Division of Extension. I have 3 offices that I cover, so I cover Jefferson and Rock and Walworth counties as main point of contact and supervisor for staff within those extension offices. So I'm really honored to be here tonight. I'm going to show a short video in a little while of what you might see when you're in an extension program, but wanted to share a little bit about our mission and about the partnership that we have with Jefferson County. So Extension's mission is to connect the people of Wisconsin, people of Jefferson County, with the latest information that's coming out from the university. And we do this in very practical ways. We deliver it on farms, we deliver it to communities, we deliver it to families, we deliver it to parents and to youth. And our programming, we want it to be accessible to everyone. We strive really, one of our main guiding posts that we lean into is making sure that our program is accessible to everyone within Wisconsin. And we strive to ensure that what the information they're getting, the people feel empowered to use that to make their choice for their own life and to make their lives better. So we are unique in that you're hearing me say University of Wisconsin, but we're also part of the county in a county department. So we function in a lot of different ways. Our educators, you saw a report that was given to you that looked just like this. And you got to see a list of our educators and staff and some of their highlights that they've been working on throughout 2023. So the educators come with a ton of content knowledge, and an entire support system, not only through the university, but also through the county that supports the behind-the-scenes support that they need to make our programming the best it can be. So we have everything from evaluation specialists, we have specialists that will translate into different languages for us. We have our support staff here at the county, Caitlin and Megan, and they do really wonderful work just to give us that general support that we need for our programming. So this leads me to share a little bit of a snapshot about Extension. And just like you heard tonight from the other county departments, I'm excited to share a little bit. So Jerry Wilsinski is our 4-H educator. He focuses on the 4-H thriving model. He provides leadership to the entire 4-H community here in Jefferson County and supports some of our statewide work that's going on within 4-H. So we have 563 youth that are involved in 4-H in 2023. And we focus really on that Thrive model. So we really want youth to be able to put into practical experience, hands-on learning, so that they can gather little, what we call sparks. So it might be a spark in science, it might be a spark in leadership, it might be something that sparks their attention for other career development as they move along. So Jerry, Megan, Caitlin, all of our volunteers really share that desire to work with young people and are really dedicated to our mission to create a safe space for youth to learn and grow. And if there's anybody here that's a volunteer or anybody listening online that's volunteer, we really want to thank you for everything that you do to make our 4-H, the 4-H experience for our youth tremendously successful. We have several regional educators in our office. Allison Pfau is our bilingual dairy educator and currently working in a lot of dairy operations, and she covers 5 counties currently. So she has Jefferson, Rock, Walworth, Dane, and Dodge County. She is an expert in dairy nutrition. She's currently working with several dairy farms here in Jefferson County. I went along with her to do a proper administration of vaccines down at Hord's Farm, and that was a really great experience. She also does a lot with cow care and specific education focused solely on our Spanish-speaking Latino workforce. So she's really an interesting person. If you have a chance to meet her, she's just really just has the spirit of wanting to teach in our communities, especially around dairy. So along with agriculture, Josh Camps was hired last fall as our regional crop educator. He serves 3 counties, so he has Jefferson, Rock, and Walworth counties. He's an expert in anything pest management, crop systems, general crop production. He works along with local producers, crop advisors, the soil builders here, and then the Rock River Regenerative Grazers also. So if you have a crop question, please go to Josh. Don't come to me is what I... Also related to agriculture, but in a different way, is Julie Hill. She is a horticulture outreach specialist. She is an expert in all things gardening. So Julie's also really fascinating. She also covers 3 counties, Jefferson, Rock, and Walworth. And while she only has a 0.1 FTE here in Jefferson County, she answers so many garden questions, you wouldn't believe it. So she's given several presentations, as you saw in our written document, and she is reaching tens of thousands of people through her virtual education. People come to her all the time for those gardening questions that you have. So if you have a garden question, if your plant is dying, if your tree has a disease, please go to Julie. She will connect you with not only herself and her knowledge, but also with the vast knowledge that's at the university along with that. Steve Shemaleski is our community development educator. He shared only with 2 counties, so it's only Jefferson and Waukesha that he shared with, but he focuses his work on organizational leadership development and community development. Last year, Steve led the Fort Atkinson Local Government Academy and is looking forward to expand that program in the future. So my last program I'm going to share about is our FoodWise program, and this is where I'm going to share a video. Lisa Crollo is also bilingual. She is our FoodWise coordinator. We also have a bilingual FoodWise educator that shares in this space. And this program covers both Jefferson and Walworth counties. And because of the partnership that we have with Jefferson County, we are really able to provide this service at minimal cost to the county. It's federally funded through SNAP dollars, and so we are able to bring this program into the county at very little cost to the county. So you will find FoodWise working in our with the health department, the bread basket, food pantry, You've included some handouts in your packet. There was some asparagus recipes you may have seen. One was in English, one was in Spanish. We typically do that with all of our handouts that we can. And they're really serving the low-income people within the community to make healthier choices, food choices. Not only that, but they also do Tai Chi. They do some fun things with citizens to really give them some healthy options. Now, I think you maybe remember a little clip that you got with your packet. And if you wonder why in the world would she give me a FoodWise clip that looks like a chip clip, Lisa told me, so don't tell them it's a chip clip. Say it's for their carrots or for their magnet to put on for their asparagus recipe on their refrigerator. So anyways, I just wanted to share a little something with you for that. But I want to share a little bit of an example. So you just heard stuff about Head Start and what's going on there. So I'm going to show you a video of what you might see if you were a participant or a family in a FoodWise class. And so this is not our educators that we have, but just an example of what you see in any FoodWise class that you may have.
Good morning. So, do you guys want to make a recipe with me today? Yeah.
Entonces vamos a usar diferentes texturas y diferentes colores. Eso es muy bueno cuando estamos cocinando con nuestros hijos.
If you introduce things, one way to do it is introduce it in a meal where they have other foods that they like, and then you can try it together.
¿La probaste? Me encanta que te gustó. ¿Sí? Bueno, ¿por qué, mamás, por qué creen que es importante que cocinar con nuestros hijos?
So they can do the work for us later.
That's very smart. Sí, ella...
One, two, three. Take a bite. Ooh.
Thank you. All right. Thanks for watching that along with me.
Looked like it was a fishing one.
So I wanted to provide a snapshot of our accomplishments in 2023 for the Extension Office here in Jefferson County. We have partnered with 37 community organizations, including many of departments within Jefferson County. There's a list of those near the back of the handout that you got last month, I believe. We've had 98 educational programs hosted by our educators here in the county. We've reached over 1,000 Jefferson County youth. We've supported 180 volunteers to carry out our mission. And statewide, the educators that you support through our partnership had over 50,000 people across Wisconsin engage in virtual, in-person, and social media connections. On the last page of the annual report, we highlighted the contributions that Extension has made to the strategic plan. Now, before I wrap up tonight, I have two asks of you, and I know this report might not be in front of you anymore, but that's okay. If you're so inclined to do so, there are two sections on the last page of the report. It looks like this. You'll see here's our the actions that we've had towards a strategic plan, and then we're actually looking for some input. We're doing a community, more or less a community needs assessment to help us focus on our marketing plan. So if you wanted to scan this and take a quick assessment of what you're seeing in your community and share with us so we could identify some further needs, that would be amazing. I would appreciate that. And then also, if you want to know what's going on in Extension, I would encourage you to this bottom QR code here will link you right to a link that gives you our quarterly statewide newsletter, so you can get it in your inbox. I know inboxes are full a lot of times, but if you just want to say like, yeah, I wonder what the university's Extension's up to, I'd encourage you to go to this QR code and sign up for our newsletter. Are there any questions about extension and the work that we're doing in Jefferson County?
Questions for Chris? Questions? Mr. Gross?
Yes, I have one question, but I'm thinking you probably won't be able to ask. It's about different things about asparagus.
Believe it or not, I was a horticulture educator before this role. So.
Oh, okay. So you might be, these are some basic questions, okay? When's the best time to transplant?
I believe it's in the fall for asparagus.
Okay.
Are you testing me? I feel like this might be a test.
No,
Okay.
because there's a lot of different opinions out there, that's why, okay? And I would agree with you to try doing it in the fall, okay? And then when's the best time to stop cutting it?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's already passed by now, but perhaps not. I don't know. It depends on your soil temperatures and things like that. But that would be a question for Julie if you wanted to contact Julie.
Okay, because I'm still cutting, all right.
Okay.
All right. And then there's multiple different ways to control the weeds.
Mm-hmm.
Which way would you prefer?
In an asparagus patch?
In an
or are you
asparagus
talking-
patch.
Yeah, I guess it depends on which kind of weed it is. So perennial, annual weeds, things like that. So, I mean, controlling anything going to seed would be best, but that might also be a question for Julie. I don't want to take her thunder away from her, but these are exactly the types of questions that Julie gets daily, but feel free to reach out to her.
Are you fine with doing the rock salt?
I'm more of a polling manually type of gardener, but, that might be too hard in a large patch of asparagus. But
All right.
yeah, I
thank
don't know
you.
if Julie, I don't know what Julie would say, but certainly please feel free to contact her. Any other questions, garden related or not?
Questions? Seeing none, thank you,
All
Chrissy.
right, thank you.
And that takes us to Economic Development Consortium, Deborah Reinbold.
Thank you all. I'll try and keep it short, at Terry's request. Hi, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Deb Reinbold. I lead the economic development work for Jefferson County. Also, for those of you that are newer to the board, it might also be interesting to know that not only do we serve you all, but we also have two other boards that we serve. The Jefferson County Economic Development Consortium, which is our public sector, and then Thrive Economic Development, which is our private. So here are our areas of focus. So about 2 years ago, we updated our strategic plan to include not only our traditional economic development work and business retention, expansion, and attraction, but also to include diverse housing and an activated workforce. And the only way we can do that is through trust and partnerships. So this is 2023 activity. So you can see there's $511 million in investment there. That does not include Kikkoman. That'll come in next year's report. So 10 different businesses. Of that 511 million, 500 million of that is one company. That's Astalan Bio. We'll get into that in a little bit. But you also see 285 plus jobs. So the reason I'm mentioning that 500 million is one company is because we work with a lot of smaller companies. It's just that we've been very lucky to work with some of these larger projects coming here into Jefferson County. Yeah, some of these headlines have been coming out recently. Jefferson County lands more than $1 billion in new foreign-owned company investments. That headline came out in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, I think it was a week and a half ago, and also came out online about 2 weeks prior. Astalan Bio, as we had just mentioned, that's an Irish-owned company, and they came here and took over the former Valero facility. They currently have 77 employees, and next Monday is their open house. If any of you have signed up, or if you're interested in signing up, let me know. I can probably still get you in. Palermo, as you see on the right, they came into Jefferson County in the cold storage facility over in Collins. If you don't mind, next slide. And as we're looking to grow, we are looking at, there's 4 different areas that the county really has a focus on. Agribusiness, food and beverage, biotech is something that we're getting into, and that's the slide here, and BioForward, and then also advanced manufacturing. And so the reason that we're looking at biotech, you can see there's 2 primary concentrations, and we're located right in the middle between the two. Primarily, they're located in both Madison and then in the Milwaukee area. And so as part of that, we have joined an organization in Madison called BioForward so that we can better situate ourselves, better position ourselves for that type of growth here. And the reason that we're looking at that type of growth is, one, because we have such a large concentration of food and beverage manufacturers. A lot of the supply chain is similar. If you think about some of the tanks that they use in food and beverage manufacturing, they use a lot of the same in biotech as well. And the wages there are extremely good paying wages. And so those are the types of jobs that we're trying to attract here into the county. So I mentioned before, food and beverage. We also have joined an organization out of the Milwaukee area called Fab Wisconsin that it focuses on food and beverage. And as you see, we're positioning ourselves as the county. I know that the county owns land, and we'll get to that in just a little bit, that, we've got Kikkoman is coming and being our anchor tenant. But we as a county are really well positioned to attract food and beverage manufacturers. And so this is an ad that we placed in Fab Wisconsin in their annual report that came out in January to all of their businesses. So here, of course, all of you are familiar with the old county farm. And Kikkoman, as most of you, I think you've at least been invited. Tomorrow is their groundbreaking. And as you're all well aware, $563 million investment. And that's just the initial 220,000 square foot phase. And it also then launches our Food and Beverage Innovation Campus, which allows for an additional 65 acres for more food and beverage manufacturers. Housing is another one of the strategies that we highlighted earlier. Last fall, we had actually I should start with last May, we had the launch of our Live Local Development Fund at our housing summit. And we had 150-ish people attend that meeting out in Lake Mills. And again, we launched what we call the Live Local Development Fund. And I thank all of you for supporting that fund. We recognize that in Jefferson County, it's difficult. It's difficult to get the rents that you get, say, in Dane County or in Waukesha County, and the pro formas right now are really difficult for developers to come. We have a huge need for housing within the county. As you all know, it's one of your strategic goals as well. And so this fund allows for up to $25,000 per unit for an investor that we can lend out to them. And they have to complete a pro forma so that we can see exactly where all of their funds are going and make sure that if there's any additional funding sources that they can use for their project, their ask of our public dollars are reduced. So we created that Live Local Development Fund. We've already gotten a number of applications. Those funds are last funds into the deal, and so we haven't deployed any of them, but our committee has considered 3 of those pro formas in order to move those projects forward. The investors in those funds, again, Jefferson County with $2 million, Greater Watertown Community Health Foundation at $2 million, and Exonia Bank is now added to that at another $1.5 million. We also have in our pipeline, I would say, at least 3, possibly 4 million, which I would anticipate by the end of this year. And then last fall, we had our housing summit, our annual meeting, and we called it Creating Roofs and Roots. And what we did there, we had 3 different organizations come in and speak. It was a panel. And so we had someone from WIDA. They were talking about some of the state funds that are available to support housing development. Habitat for Humanity, for those of you that aren't aware, Habitat for Humanity of Waukesha County has now expanded into Jefferson County. Their first project, I believe, will be down in Fort Atkinson, and they've got another, that's a duplex unit that they'll be building, and then they'll also have a couple of lots up in the city of Watertown as well, owned by the Madison Area Technical College. And then we also had a speaker from HUD come in as well. And the reason for that is because we as a county, as of January 29th, are now HUD certified. And that allows us to use counseling services. So Roxanne Whitty in our office, she's been with the county for 20 some years. She is our counselor, and it allows people to gain access to up to $20,000 worth of grants if they make less than 80% of the county median income that they can use towards purchasing a home. It doesn't have to be a first-time home. It also allows them access to 0% interest financing, again, for people who make less than 80% of the county median income. They can get 0% interest loans to rehab their home. That includes things, structural items such as roofs, windows, furnaces, air conditioning, that type of thing, at 0%, and no payments until time of transfer. So if they pass away or if they sell their home, that's when that loan comes due. And that's what I just described there. Sorry. Activated workforce. So our office has worked with the Latino Academy of Workforce Development. We see that a lot of people are staying in their homes longer. We're seeing that the number of people in their homes are going down. I think the average is about 1.5 people in a home now. So we're seeing people are staying in their homes, which means that they're aging in place. And so the largest growth that we're seeing in our county is through our Latino population. And so that's why we've engaged with the Latino Academy of Workforce Development, and we hosted 3 career fairs in the last 1.5 years with them, the latest down in Whitewater. You can see JC HERMA, which is the Jefferson County SHRM, or Society for Human Resource Management. We've been working with them. They actually are going to be hosting a conference, I guess you could say, on August 6th, where they are going to be working on, they are bringing together a group of people to discuss how to legally hire people from outside of the country. So you could call them immigrants. There are some refugees, but we've been working with them on partnering for that conference. And then finally, WEDC has asked me to be a talent attraction ambassador. So they have a nationwide marketing campaign to try and bring people into the state of Wisconsin. And I can tell you that I've already fielded about 7 calls from people. And it's really interesting to me. I'm thinking about one specifically from Pittsburgh who reached out, and they said that they were really nervous about coming out here, but they're trying to find a place. They've got a 7-year-old, and they wanted to find a place to live that has great quality schools, a place that's affordable. They have a budget of $300,000 for a home. They would never be able to find a home out there. She said, my challenge is I've got to try and get my husband to come out here. And he's really used to going to New York, which is 3.5 hours away. And I said, well, do you recognize or do you realize we're an 1.5 hours from Chicago? And she thought that was a real game changer. People just don't know. So upcoming events that we have, State of the County. So lucky Ben Waymeyer will be giving a State of the State, if you will, on July 25th. Conversations with Thrive Economic Development, that we host at a area business. That'll be on August 7th. We don't have a location identified yet. And then we have our annual meeting coming up on October 10th. There we'll actually be bringing in the site selector who helped work on the Kikuman project, and she'll be telling everyone why they picked Jefferson County for their site, and also how can we best position ourselves as a county to win other projects. So that's all that's a list of all of our investors, just in case those of you who are here aren't aware of who's investing in our organization from the private sector as well as the public sector. So our municipalities are listed there, all of our cities and villages, with the exception of Sullivan. Any questions?
Questions for Deb? Questions? Seeing none, thank you very much, Deb.
Thank you all.
Thank you. We move on to committee reports, resolutions, and ordinances. Executive Committee amending the Jefferson County Board Supervisory District Plan to incorporate newly created Ward 4 in the town of Ashland. Supervisor Winnicke.
Okay. In February of 2024, the Wisconsin legislature created new Wisconsin Assembly and State Senate districts. Pursuant to state law, no ward line can cross the state assembly districts or supervisor district. But and we were good in every respect except in the town of Aztalan, where their Ward 3 contained both or 2 Senate and assembly districts. So they complied with that by dividing the 3 wards into 4 wards. And what this resolution does is amends the county supervisor district plan to incorporate the newly created town of Ashland Ward 4 into the supervisor district. It does not affect population, does not affect supervisory lines, and has no fiscal impact to the county. So, Mr. Chair, I move approval of this resolution.
Moved by Mr. Winnicke. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Paulson. Questions? Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes. Takes us to item 12, Finance Committee Resolution, Initial Resolution Approving Revenue Bond Financing for Bug Tussle Wireless LLC. Supervisor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The initial resolution authorizing Jefferson County to participate with other counties in an intergovernmental agreement to finance a project for the acquisition, construction, and installation of certain telecommunication infrastructure for the purpose of providing wireless, internet, and telephone communication services to business, governmental units, and residents of rural counties where such service is currently unavailable or prohibitively expensive. Fond du Lac County will serve as the bond issuer for revenue bond financing for the Bug Tussle Wireless LLC, which includes costs for projects located in Jefferson County in the amount not to exceed $5 million. This resolution reflects Jefferson County's intent to participate in conduit bond financing with Fond du Lac County, serving as the issuing county, issuing revenue bonds in the amount not to exceed $250 million, of which up to $500 million could be on behalf of and guaranteed by Jefferson County, and the remainder guaranteed by other participating counties. Bug Tussle Wireless LLC and its parent company, Hilbert Communications, have the primary obligation to pay debt service on the bonds, and each participating county will be required to guarantee the payment of its proportionated share of the bonds should the borrower fail to make payment. The initial resolution also reflects Jefferson County's intent to proceed with negotiation of the related agreements necessary to the financing, including the intergovernmental agreement and guarantee. These agreements are expressly conditioned upon final approval by the county board by means of a final resolution at a future meeting of the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors. This initial resolution expressly states that the bonds will never constitute an indebtedness of the county or a charge against its credit or taxing powers, and that all county costs in connection with the issuance of the bonds will be paid by the borrower, Bug Tussle Wireless LLC, and its parent corporation, Hilbert Communications. In addition, Jefferson County will receive an annual guarantee fee from the borrower based on the amount of the guarantee provided. The Jefferson County Finance Committee approved this resolution at its meeting on June 4th, 2024, and recommended forward to the county board for approval. Fiscal note. Under this agreement, Jefferson County would be a secondary guarantor of up to $5 million of bonds issued by the Fond du Lac County. The bonds issued by Fond du Lac County are not a direct obligation of Jefferson County. The bonds are initially paid by Bug Tussle Wireless LLC. In the event of a default by Bug Tussle parent company Hilbert Communications LLC would then guarantee the debt. If both these entities default, then Jefferson County would be next to guarantee payment. Jefferson County will receive an annual fee of 20 basis points on the outstanding debt for its promise to guarantee. For the county's $5 million share, this equates to the beginning fee of $10,000, which would decline over time as principal is paid on the debt. Mr. Chair, I move for passage of this resolution.
Moved by Supervisor Jones, second by Supervisor Backlund. Any questions, discussion? Supervisor Brogler.
Where does the annual guarantee fee land in our budget scheme?
Right now, it is going to basically a general revenue fund process. For those who have been monitoring the Finance Committee, we've been using about a year ago, we allocated a certain portion of that guaranteed fee to help pay for offset costs for the audiovisual of this project. So the first 3 years are going to this project, and the remainder will go into the general revenue to be allocated in the future.
Other questions? Supervisor Kennard.
I was wondering, are we going to get updates from these guys as far as how this is going, how they're progressing, what they've got completed, what's live, what's not, I guess?
So I can start a little bit. And Mitch Olson is here, who's the Chief Development Officer and General Corporation Counsel. So I'll give a quick update and kind of where this project is heading, and let him also add if that's